I've heard a lot of the top tree dog breeders out there say that up to 50% of every litter won't make the cut. And if that's true, we really don't get a lot of mistakes to make on our journey to produce a finished squirrel dog. I've been training hunting dogs for 18 years, 12 of which I spent in the squirrel dog world. I've made a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes have ruined more dogs than I like to admit. One of the biggest mistakes I've made is ironically one of the easiest to avoid. I'm going to talk about that big mistake and how it ruined a dog that had a ton of potential. So in 2019, I wanted to play around with the treeing walkers, and I bought one. I brought home about an 11-week-old puppy, and I started this journey to become a coon dog, which ended up becoming a squirrel dog. And I started out at about the 12 to 13-week-old time period of its life and began taking it on woods walks. And this dog was really timid in the beginning. I would stay very close to my feet, wouldn't get out far. It'd maybe run 20 yards up the trails in the woods where I'd take it on a walk. He'd kind of look around with his tail tucked nervously, run back to me, stay close to my feet. The first few times it even would just bolt back to the vehicle. As time went on, I kept taking it with me, kept taking it on hikes around the lake, out on public land. And as it got older, around the 4 to 5 month old time period, it started enjoying the walks and ranging out a little bit. Would still stay close to me, but would definitely put that nose to work and be venturing off 50 or 60 yards, circling around me, smelling things. And it began running into game, began getting excited about game, and really started looking to me like it was wanting to hunt. And at about the 6 month mark, it really started ranging out, started chasing squirrels up the tree, started barking a little bit, and I decided it was time for that dog to start hunting. I heard a lot about starting dogs early and how good it was, and that is the big mistake I want to talk about today. The human equivalent of a 6 month old dog is a 6 year old child. How good of a hunter do you think you were capable of being at 6 years old? I know at 6 years old, I really liked hunting. I knew I liked being in the woods, but I was far from being capable of putting together complex scenarios like locating bedding areas for deer, locating feeding areas, the difference in hot sign, the difference in rut sign, all similar to what a dog has to process whenever it's tracking a squirrel, a game animal. You know, is this an old track? Is this a new track? Which way does this squirrel go? Is that a den tree, or is this a solo squirrel going up a tree? Did that tree hit that limb, jumped over to that tree? I was asking a 6 month old dog to process a lot of complex information, and I just don't believe the dog was ready to handle it. So nonetheless, I didn't know that, and I took the dog out. Just happened to be in November, a great time to get a dog in the woods, and there were a lot of squirrels. And on its first hunt, right away it got after a squirrel. It chased it into a den tree. I was right there with it, and I locked on that den tree, hammering down barking. Now I was excited because I'm seeing this new pup prospect that I've put a lot of time in, barking at a tree at a squirrel that I saw go up a tree and go into a hole. So I'm super excited. I think this dog has made it. And I'm just praising this dog up at the tree, and I'm praising it and I'm praising it. I probably praised it for 15 minutes. Good, wanting to really reinforce what you're doing right now is a good thing. And after that, we went about our business. And I think that first hunt, that dog treed 5 squirrels, 5 den trees. I praised all of them, none of which I actually shot out to the dog. And here's where I believe the mental maturity level of that dog created the bad habit that ended up creating a dog that didn't make the cut for me, that just went out and found den trees. What I did is I gave that dog some success, and I rewarded it for that success, which was chasing it to a den tree. Now, what I believe was happening is I have a mentally immature dog that's not capable of a complex thought. I'm not saying this is the case for every dog. This is my experience with my dog. I know there are some dogs out there that can do it, but I really believe with all the dogs I've worked with over the years, that is the exception to the rule. So I took a dog, I gave it some success on den trees. What are den trees? Are trees that squirrels live in, and they get a lot more traffic. There's going to be a high concentration of old scent at these trees compared to, say, just a solo squirrel that dog jumped in the woods and ran up a skinny tree, or maybe just winding a solo squirrel in a skinny tree. And I think that's a big deal when you're talking about creating a finished squirrel dog, because den trees are frustrating. Everybody who's run a dog knows that. When a dog ends up at den tree after den tree, you're not shooting any squirrels out. And really what you're wanting is you're wanting to hit them isolated squirrels that don't have anywhere to go. I don't believe my dog was mentally mature enough to be able to process those complex tracks. And I was taking it out. It knew enough that hammering on that heavy scent was a good thing, and I was rewarding it for it. So I believe by starting that dog early and then continuing to hunt that dog and reward that dog for hunting within the boundaries of its limited mental capacity at that age, that I actually let that dog condition itself to be a slick treer, to hit den trees. All of that, I believe, could have been avoided had I have, well, had more maturity in me as a hunter, and know what I know now, which is the dogs that I've waited to start until like the 10-month-old to the 15 to 18-month-old time frame. I'm looking for those key things that I cover in another video. I'll put the link to that video in the description. But now I know what I'm looking for before I want to start a dog. I want to see the confidence. I want there to be some mental maturity there, because with that mental maturity comes the ability to think complex things through. And I personally, guys, I believe a squirrel dog has about one of the most complex jobs of the tree dog world. Say maybe, bobcats or something like that. Look at what a squirrel can do compared to all the other animals out there. It's not running a coon that just you hit the track, it goes to a tree, and it stays put till you get there. Those squirrels get out of dodge quick. They climb all over everything. There's a lot there for a dog to think, which is why I think in the squirrel dog world, it makes a whole lot more sense to wait, especially when you're talking about only maybe a 50% chance at getting a good dog just by buying your pup. It's a lot to risk to start them early. A lot can go wrong.